Hello there everyone, welcome back to another Gate Ruler video. I suggest you strap in because this is going to be a long one. I'm going to be reviewing the entirety of Atlas from everything we have so far, basically. The promos, the starter deck, the main set, everything we got so far I'm going to be reviewing. So yeah, strap in, it's going to be a big one. And subscribe to the channel. Would appreciate it. I'm going to be doing, these are going to be the next few videos you see. I'm going to be doing all of these. Preface, I suppose. So it's been about a month since the pre-release. So basically since we had the full set, I've started testing. So Atlas is definitely one of the armies I feel most confident in my assessment of the cards. I've done a lot of testing with Atlas. And I think I'm in a reasonably good place for you to sort of trust a good amount of the things I'm saying, but again, it's still relatively early days. The game is brand new, and there's a lot that could still change, but as I say, that's that. Let's go ahead and get started with the card review. Enough pissing around. So, starting off with the main set legend, Captain Liberty. I'm not going to read the effects or anything, by the way. I'm literally just going to talk about the cards, otherwise we will literally be here for an hour. Okay, Captain Liberty. This is one of the strongest legends. It is very, very versatile. It is very, very useful. I go into a bit more depth in my Ranking the Legends video, which you can check out there, assuming I remember to put a card. But yeah, I recommend that video. I talk about all the legends in quite a lot of depth. I don't want to drone on too long on this, but a 5/4/2 defender is really nice. And the fact that you can just keep on reviving him, this card is very, very realistic to be able to special summon 2-3 times a game. This card is usable with all rulers, useful indeed with all rulers. There is nothing about this that's specific to any. Yeah, just a fantastic card. It's a military, so you can heal them out with Normandy. And yeah, just generally a very, very strong card. If I'm going to go ahead and rate these between 1-star and 5-star, 5-star, can I really rate them? I'm not going to rate them because I'll definitely be wrong, and it's just a way to embarrass myself. I'm just going to say really good card. Shadow of Hades. This is another fantastic card, not quite as good as Captain Liberty, of course. But a 5/3/3 here, so relatively easy for your opponent to deal with, but it's got that 5 attack, so it's hitting that threshold value of 5, which is better, to be fair, on a level 3. So it's going to be able to remove a lot of stuff. It's got 3 strike, making it very threatening to swing into the ruler. It is very, very useful for its counter ability, because this is going to let you summon something to your defensive zone, more than likely, as long as it isn't your opponent's final attack. So you are going to be able to get a defender out of this unit, which is going to essentially be like healing 2 to 3, which is obviously very valuable. Potentially even more than that if your opponent cannot hit over, which is a possibility. It's easy to Abyss summon, making it very useful in those decks, but I think it is more potent in the Owl deck. In particular, I just think it's a very powerful card. And yeah, this is one of the key parts of what makes the Owl deck so powerful, the counter ability and the ability of this card to just generate a board and be very, very, very scary. So yeah, very good card. Buster Kong. I rated this card as a B tier 4-star, I believe, and I'm still reasonably confident in that rating, if only because 4 stars are just such high quality. I still think this card is fantastic. It is still, it's still really, really strong. It's just, balanced. It's restrictive. It's not the easiest card in the world to use. It's a level 3. You've got to pay a hefty cost for it. The counter is great, but it's not an instant removal. And that makes sense, because when if you counter check something, for example, like a Buster Arm, that is probably an instant removal, but you're not getting a body on top of it. Here, you've got access to a 5/3/2 as and you're getting that bonus burn 4. It's also a breakthrough unit, and the damage can be buffed here. So this is just an all-around great card. I'm a big fan of it. Intelligence Agent Becky, as I said, this was one of the worst. There's definitely one of the worst 4 stars, but that does not mean it's a bad card. 2 strike on a level 1 is noteworthy. The fact that you can play this on your opponent's first turn, going second, is also noteworthy. You know, not always, but sometimes your opponent, particularly against Apprentice, it's likely that this will happen. If your opponent does something like, oh, I'm going to play a Cherry Tree, for example, you can just go, okay, pay, I'm going to call this to center, and now I've got a blocker, I'm not taking this damage turn 1. Is that worth running it? Probably not, but one other thing to consider is this card is a warrior, so as we get more Genesis summoning going into the future, this is going to be a card that is worth keeping an eye on. I think it's a pretty mediocre card right now, but I think there is strong future potential, and do not sleep on the fact that it is a military attribute card as well. It's an okay card with strong future potential, is my opinion. This card is phenomenal. I started off reading this card and I was like, wow, this card's amazing, and then I tested it and I thought, oh, this card sucks, and I tested it more and I was like, what the hell, this card's amazing. So we're back to this card's amazing. The counter is kind of so-so, but the ability to just be able to play this to null an attack, potentially null 2 attacks if your opponent isn't consciously playing around it. This plays into intercept plays or retaliate plays. You can buff the stats on it and give it intercept. Very synergistic with your Imagine in that sense. If your opponent doesn't immediately clear, this is a 4 attack unit, which is obviously very good as well. This is great turn 1 because you're essentially getting refunded that energy cost you just invested into it anyway, so it's a good attack null. And this is, most importantly, the only card in the game that is null from hand, which means your opponent is probably going to forget about it, which is good because then you get to use it and your opponent goes, oh shit, I'm bad, and you go, yes you are. This is a great card. Great card. Primary Armored Unit Victor. Okay. Another great card. 4/3/2, which has when it attacks, choose one unit and deal 2 damage to it. So this is kind of like a 6/3/2 level 2. And if that's what it was, we would all be freaking the fuck out. We'd be like, this card is ridiculous, what the hell? However, this card is better than a 6/3/2 because you can split the damage to remove something else, and the damage can be buffed by cards like Spotted Giraffe and Guns and Gold Weapon Arsenal. So for some reason, despite this card being better than a card we'd freak out about, I'm not seeing that many people talk about it. This card's great. The only problem with this card is the fact that it is 3 HP, so it is relatively easy to remove, but I don't think that's a problem. If you have not experimented with this card, I highly recommend you do so. This is definitely one of the strongest 3 stars in the set, for sure. Rampart Elephant, another phenomenal card. This is a 4/3/2, but as touchdown, you get +2 HP and Defender. A 4/5/2 Defender for 2 is insane. It is insane. Bearing in mind, a 5/4/2 Defender was sort of legend class worthy, right? Like, yes, okay, it had the ability to revive itself, but, you know, this you get to run 4 copies of, and, like, you get, like, I think it is reasonably comparable to Captain Liberty. Obviously, they are different enough, but, like, I would also say 4/5 is sort of more valuable stat spread on a defender than 5/4, because, you know, it is, yes, 5 attack is valuable for breaking walls, but, you know, as a defender, I also want to be a valuable wall. 4 attack is really pretty easy to hit, and also Apprentice rulers are going to hit it like that, so they don't need to worry. You're getting that 5 attack here, which means it's entirely possible your opponent won't be able to hit it on top of it if you have appropriate removal. So this card's really good. On top of that, it is 4 attack. It is valuable if your opponent doesn't kill it, and there are lots of ways, again, looking to Imagine as a complementary, very, very complementary way to build this in Knight, which is what you'd be doing with Touchdown. There are a lot of ways to make sure this survives, and then you've got a 4 attack unit on your next turn. Do not sleep on this card, it's really good. Also, of course, Defender is crazy because, you know, you get to attack with the thing and then move to center, but anyway, that's sort of obvious. Guns and Gold Weapon Arsenal. Okay, so this card is, it's really good, but you have to build around it. It's not a card you can just chuck in. You really do have to be running enough burn cards for this to be worth the counter space, but when you do, oh boy, this makes your deck, like, once you sort of get set up with two of these, even one of these is a lot, but once you've got 2 of these set up, every single card that does burn is ridiculous, and basically once you get to that point, it's going to be really tough for your opponent to beat you. All of your removal cards are just going to make their lives hell. This card is just really, really, really strong, and you can have as many of them as you want, obviously, and it's only a level 1, so it's actually really easy to just hard play from hand as well. So, you know, it's a good counter effect to play this card to get this effect for the rest of the game, and you can also play it from hand for pretty cheap. This is a really good card, but again, you do have to build around it. Bust Arm. This is one of the strongest counters in the game. The only card I would say that is just, I'd say there are only 2 counters that are just objectively stronger, and those are in X-Fader and in Wonderverse. We'll talk about those in the respective videos. But yeah, this will basically kill anything, and certainly with the Guns and Gold weapon arsenal, it will kill anything that isn't getting a plus HP buff. Raw stats, this will just kill anything. And being able to just clear something like this is super valuable. If you clear, for example, a Grand Galak, that is saving you 4 damage, as well as healing you the 1 here. This card's super good. Yeah, it's, you know, the only downside is it's level 3, but the counter effect is more than powerful enough to justify that sort of trade-off, because you're more likely to damage it than you are to draw it. Colonel Big Owl, I think this may be the most low-key strong counter in the game. I've said that about a lot of cards, I feel. They're really, really strong, really good. But this card is low-key so good. It's highly restrictive. It's only valuable in Night, and you have to be playing blue. So already you are constraining the number of decks that can play it. You also need to be playing a deck that is able to just go, yes, I do not need all these counters that are so central to my strategy to be able to play this. But in that niche of decks that can play this card, man, this card is good. 3 big reasons. 1, when you counter check this drawing a card. The second you test it out and you experience it, you will understand why that's so good. Second reason, this is a 2/5/2. This is a 5 HP body you can chuck into the center, usually going to soak 2 attacks. Or 1 big thing, but you can potentially remove that big thing. If you're playing blue, you've probably got some removal tools, or you've got some really good protection tools, so this can soak a lot of attacks. And 3, the saving order effect to let you draw even more cards, which is sort of like the lowest priority, which is crazy because it's such a strong effect as well, is just great. This card is super good. Super good. Dimensional Navigation Ship Arc. So this card, I think, is a lot more niche. It's only a normal use timing, so you can't just set it as a bait and then use it, which is a bit annoying. And it only adds level 1 or lower from your cemetery. If this was level 2 or lower, I think this would be a lot stronger. It's at level 1 or lower, so realistically you're probably adding zeros because there's not that many good ones. You know, it's a counter, so it's taking up that spot, and it's sort of reliant on you having already played the card that's good for you to get back. I'm not too hot on this card. I don't think it's too good at the moment, but it is one of those cards where in the future, as we get more and more really strong cheap units, you're going to want to play this because like, if a majority of the units you're playing are cheap and sort of fulfill this condition of being a level 1 or lower military, well, you know, by the time you see this, you're going to have one in your discard, so it's going to be valuable. This is currently useful in decks that are very, you know, central around, like, for example, Bullseye Wolf. There's a video which I made about that, which you should check out as well. Probably a card over there, again, if I remember. But yeah, this card it's okay, but again, I think it has future potential. This card is just such a staple. You need to be playing energy boosters. I think I strongly believe in most night decks you need to be playing energy boosters. They're so nice. And this one in particular, being military traded, means that this will make your arc free, or this will make your Normandy only cost 1. And the 1 cost to heal is good. Heal and make a body, obviously, that's very good. So yeah, I suggest if you're not 100% sure why these cards are so good, you check them out, but these cards are very strong. And the number of decks that don't need them, I think, are pretty few and far between. Bullseye Wolf, this is one of the strongest Wild Force cards. The touchdown is to either burn one to your opponent or choose one enemy unit and deal 1 damage to it. This is a card you definitely want to be running in that sort of burn-focused deck. And when you do play it in that variant, you're going to see, with Guns and Gold, will ramp this card up to be so scary, because suddenly both the effects are terrifying. You can either burn one to your opponent, or you could probably burn 2, 3, 4 even, maybe even 5. Probably not, but you know, 3 to 4 is very plausible. And suddenly this becomes a terrifying removal tool that is going to be able to clear your opponent's center and let you just absolutely smash face and you know, win games. This is basically useful at kind of all stages of the game, really, in that deck. But I will concede it's relatively restrictive. This is not a generically wow card, because dealing 1 damage to your opponent, whilst good, is, you got to really consider what you could be playing instead, and some decks, they're not really going to value that 1 extra damage that much, because that could stop them dealing an extra 3 if it was a different card, for example. Good card though, very good card. Disaster. This is a very interesting card. So this is the Knight equivalent to Haunting, kind of. So, the advantages of this card are, if you don't see it, it does nothing, which is an advantage and a disadvantage, right? So, okay. Basically, if you damage this, God, fuck, that feels awful. If you draw this, yes, that feels incredible. If it's in your deck, it's not doing anything. Sorry, you can ignore that thing I said about the advantage, disadvantage. If you don't see it, then it's a waste of space, really. But you could argue that's true for any card, so yeah. This card is one of those ones where, whereas Haunting is always giving you value, so the large proportion of the time where you don't see the card at all, it's still doing something. Here, you need to see the card and you need to draw the card, rather than damage the card. And as I said, you're actually more likely to damage a card than draw a card over the course of a game. So, this card is quite risky. However, in exchange for that risk, you do get some very powerful reward. The ability to just go drop a level 3, disaster, drop another level 3, potentially disaster again, you know, set like a Buster on, that is potentially game swinging. However, I don't think it's that good. I think this is a card where it seems really strong on paper, but in practice, I just don't think it's that good, and I think the lists are starting to reflect that. I thought this card was ridiculous when I first read it and I first tested it, and then, like, obviously I tested it and I was like, oh, this card's not that great after all. So yeah, that's I think this card is kind of a trap, is my opinion, but I could be wrong. And in the future, I think this card will be better. But yeah. Atlas Normandy Exercise. This is a really interesting card. So again, normal use timing. You choose a level 2 or lower military card in your damage zone and you add it to your hand. So there are certain combos which make this card crazy, and there are other times where this card will be so dead and so useless you will regret playing it. It is one of those things where it's going to be dependent on the deck, and your experience will kind of vary, but personally I think this is worth running at like 2 to 3 in decks that, you know, have enough military cards to sort of justify it. Because this is really good if you salvage a trooper. This means it's a cost 1 heal, that's good. This is potentially really strong to just salvage, this salvages any military card. There are events that are really good that are worth having. This, it kind of lets you toolbox your damage as a toolbox. As a second hand, almost. So yeah, it's good. It is high costed, and it should be high costed because it's a very powerful card. But yeah, overall, I'm a big fan. I think this card is good. Yeah, I think it's good. G&G Unmanned Tank Turret Turtle. 4/4/2 vanillas are good, and it's a military. So yeah, this is salvageable with Normandy, with Arc, and again, 2 strike on 1 cost units. Do not sleep on that. It is very, very possible to just beat your opponent in with just raw stat power. Do not sleep on vanillas. They are some of the best cards in the game. Yeah, do not sleep on stats, because these cards are annoying to deal with, and they are annoying to leave up. Yeah, good card. Selkirk Catsith. So this is an Owl Apparition Beast. Apparition doesn't seem to matter too much at the moment. Beast, again, also doesn't seem to matter too much because running blue Beast is not great. Owl is relevant. It's a 3/1/1, it's a familiar, so this is synergistic with the Genesis summon stuff, and it has Intercept, which is one of the most powerful keywords in the game, but this also only has 1 HP, so your opponent can clear this with literally anything. And it's going to be damn near impossible for you to actually save and keep, like, scary. Yeah, I just don't think this card is very good. I just can't see the niche where you want to play this card outside of, like, Owl Genesis Summon as, like, your 5th and 6th familiars. That's kind of the only real niche I see for this card. I just don't think it's very good. Werewolf Warrior, another vanilla here. So you see this loses 1 HP compared to Turret, but in exchange, and it also loses military traiting, but it gains Beast, Darkness, and Owl. Those are all highly relevant traits. Darkness for the Darkness Abyss Summon deck, Beast for the Beast deck, and Owl for the Owl deck. So all very relevant typing. And worth considering, worth keeping in mind. This card is good. Vanillas are strong. Do not sleep on vanillas. Corporal Champ Tiger, this is a really strong vanilla. You're getting a 5/2/2 here, a Warrior, Military, Wild Force. So Warrior, you've got synergy there for Genesis Summon. Military, you've got the Military synergy. Wild Force, you've got the synergy with Owl, where if this does damage, you're going to be drawing. And potentially more Wild Force synergy to come. 5 attack, again, do not sleep on that. It is good to be able to just slap this down and clear a big center on your opponent's board is valuable. But yeah, I would say this is one of the worst Wild Force cards. That does not mean it's bad. I just think that Wild Force has some really, really strong cards that by comparison to vanilla is kind of whatever. But again, lots of potential here on this card. I think it's really good. And I think in terms of like a good stuff list, you would probably want to play this because just the ability to just beat down your opponent and go, I literally don't care, is valuable. Ironstorm, this is an interesting card. So this is a level 1 5-power military. It's got counter to play it. Use timing is immediate, and you choose 1 or more enemy units and distribute 2 damage among them. So, personally, I'm not a fan of this card at the moment, purely because I think it's too reliant on getting some guns and gold set up, because otherwise you're taking up a counter spot to do something that's really not that good. In these kind of burn-focused decks, you're probably going to be using Wonderverse as your second faction, and Wonderverse you have a counter that either burns 1 or deals 2, or a counter that deals 3 to one target. You also have a non-counter card in Atlas that deals 2 for 0, so the problem with Ironstorm is it just doesn't do anything like too valuable for that counter spot. Now, if it was counter play this and choose 1 or more enemy units and deal 3 damage among them, then I think that would be a lot more valuable because it's enough removal power to the point where I'd be like, yeah, I think this is okay. I think this is reasonably likely to be good enough value enough of the time for me to go, yeah, I'm gonna run this card, but I just don't think it's worth the space at the moment, unfortunately. Magical Soldier Jake, level 0, Wizard, Military, 4/3/1. Importance of Wizard is for Genesis summoning, military, and stats, so it can clear over stuff, and it's a 0 you can play for free. Yeah, again, don't sleep on vanillas. They will ruin your day if you do. Banshee, 2/4/1. This is an Owl Apparition Darkness, so same explanation for why those stats are valuable as for Werewolf, but this one is a 0, so you can also revive it with I forget the name, with Hades. Whereas with Weevil of Wales, with that card you can only heal out the 1 or less, so this card can also be healed, and so can Werewolf. So yeah, good card in the Owl deck, really good card. Norwegian Forest Kate Sith, so this is an Owl Apparition Beast. This is a level 0, 2/1/1 familiar, and with the ability to become a level 1 till the end of turn, and I think for all intents and purposes, you're running this over the other Cat Sith because it's free. And that's kind of the big thing. I don't think it's worth paying for the intercept because you're probably never going to get any value out of it. Yeah, I just think this is better in pretty much any scenario where you would want to be playing them at the moment. And of course, this is a great card for Genesis summoning. If you're going to splash that in, this is a great card for Owl because you can heal it and revive it. And yeah, just generally a very, very good. Obviously familiar as well. You can give it any trait as relevant, which is relevant for Wild Force and stuff like that for Owl. So worth keeping in mind. Good card. Spotted Giraffe, a very interesting card here. So this is a level 0 military Wild Force 2/3/1, which is going to give +1 to the original value of effect damage dealt to enemy units by your cards. So this is the same thing as Guns and Gold, but it is on a unit, so it does not have counter, but it's not for the game. This is, I think, just worse. It's, the problem is there are just so many good cards you want to run that justifying running this card is pretty tough. It's not the easiest card in the world to remove. 3 HP puts it out of a lot of the obvious just burn range, which is nice. And it is an annoying card. so it's probably going to soak an attack, but overall I just don't think it's that good. I think like yeah, I just think it's not super high value, and I'd rather be playing with the zeros. Here we got Tally-Ho Dog. This is a level 0221 military wild force with intercept. Same reasons I don't think Hate Sith is that good. I just don't think you're going to be able to get much value out of this. Worth saying, I guess, intercept value is buffed by those things that do +1 damage. So if you had like this is, I guess, more likely to be good because it's free and it's a wild force, so you are more likely to be able to include it in that burn deck. And if you include it in that burn deck, this could potentially be intercepting for 4 or 5, and then that's kind of scary. But again, 2 HP, very easy to just clear with a ruler attack, and you know, worst case, your opponent will like burn it down or something. It isn't. I don't think it's that likely that this is going to be the stoic intercept defender that you would sort of want it to be. But that being said, I don't think it's a bad card at all. I just think its utility is a little niche. Recon Deer, Touchdown Overdrive, Scry 1, 311. This card's really good. I'm a fan of scrying. This is particularly good because of Owl. You can see if that's the card you want. You can see if your next card's going to be a counter. Just leave it there and choose not to draw and stuff, or like choose to do your turn in such a way that you don't draw. You can filter through and try and hit more counters. You can, just a good effect. If you've got the level 0 space, this is worth considering. This is one of the best defensive tools in the game. It's just gonna go, nope, I am staying around, and yeah, this card is just feels very essential for most decks, just as a tool to go, nah, I'm keeping my thing. Obviously it does not out hard destruction, which is good. Hard destruction should be very strong, and that's why it's, you know, so rare at the moment. I think it's on like maybe 3 cards, 2 or 3 cards, and you know, one of those is X-Vaders, one of them is a Legend, and I think there's, maybe it's just the 2. There you go, it's on a Legend and on an X-Vader, so makes sense. But yeah, this card is very, very, very good. I encourage you to play it. Suppression Fire, this is the aforementioned level 0 that dealt 2. This is a super good card. Yeah, this is particularly good with Guns and Gold Weapon Arsenal, and once you've got a couple of those set up, this is going to make your opponent's life very, very difficult. The ability to just play this stuff for free and just remove stuff is really, really good. Yeah, this is very, very strong in that particular deck, and as a sideboard option as well against Darkness decks, because you'll be able to just deal with their summoners, and they will have a bad day. Weevil of Wales, so this is a very, very powerful owl card. This is a 6/4/2 level 3. When it enters play, or like as a counter, you choose a level 1 or lower owl from your damage zone and put it in your cemetery. This is one of the big reasons why Owl Genesis Summon is so viable. You can Genesis into this to heal 1, so all your Genesis summoning is healing something. It's also just really good. It's an Owl card. This is kind of like a heal 2, but when you counter check it, it's like healing 2, so it can basically neuter your opponent's damage output. Yeah, super good. The Owl deck has a lot of longevity, and Weevil of Wales is the main part of that longevity, more so than Hades, but Hades is very important as well. So yeah, great card. Great card. Armored Unit Volcanius. This is a 3/3/2 level 2 military robo with touchdown, choose 1 enemy unit and deal 2 damage to it. So at the moment, I don't think this card is very good. However, robo is a very, very valuable trait. This is a preview card from set 2, so this is a card with great future potential. At the moment, I don't think there's much reason to play it. I'd pretty much always rather have Victor, but keep this card in mind. Dark Djinn, so now we're getting into the starter deck cards. I slept on this card, fully own up to that. This card is much better than I thought it would be. The ability to just block an attack is just fundamentally really good. This is essentially a heal 3, or heal 4, I suppose. You consider this is going to be that one counter, that damage is now doing nothing because you hit a counter, and you're sticking something in center, so you're probably going to block either a 2-strike or a 3-strike. This is kind of like a heal 3, heal 4, super good. It's darkness, It is owl, so whenever level 2 owls become like a relevant kind of thing, that'll be nice. I think if this was a level 1, then it would be really good, though I suppose getting into the damage zone would be pretty rare for that to really matter, so it only really matter if it was level 0, but anyway, yeah, this card's good. Nice card for the Darkness deck, I think worth playing. An okay card for the Owl deck. I've experimented with it. I'm not sure whether I am going to be running it in my final Owl list, because it is very annoying. I'm still debating, but the fact that it's in contention should be good enough to show that this is a strong card with good utility. Nosferatu Army. This is a level 1 Owl Apparition Darkness, 2/2/1 with Immortal. So rulers who can pay energy costs can pay the cost and summon a cap to normal summon this from the cemetery, and it cannot be put into the defensive zone. So, interesting card. Personally, I don't think it's very good at the moment. However, this is the kind of keyword and the kind of card that is just worth remembering exists moving into the future as we get more rulers that are more versatile with more energy or more summon caps and things like that. Worth keeping this card in mind again. So I think a pretty weak card at the moment with some future potential. Johan, this is arguably your best Abyss Summoner because it only costs 1. Basically a staple for the Abyss Summon deck. You knew that. Midas G. Goldberg. This is my favourite character in Gate Ruler. If you were not aware, you should really look at my at the picture at the end of this video to get some idea. This is a 3/4/1 level 1. This card is good for a couple of reasons. One, it's a level 1 Darkness. That's relevant for Viola. And 2, it heals when you Abyss Summon. However, I also think it's a bit of a bait. I've really not seen much success with this card in my testing. I've just cut it pretty quickly. Now, it's possible I'm wrong, I cut it prematurely. Please let me know if it's tested really well for you and chuck me your lists and I'll definitely look into it. But yeah, I just don't think this card is too good, unfortunately. I think it's a bit of a bait, once again. Sag! Oh, I love this card. I love this artwork there. Jack the Ripper. So, you may recall me saying this card was a massive bait, and I still think it is. I do, however, concede that as a level 0 owl, it has strong utility, and, you know, if you're going to be running all that owl stuff anyway, you're probably going to chuck in a couple of Abyss Summoners, and at that point, yeah, you might as well take advantage of the mill. Your opponent's probably not going to waste removal on this anyway, so yeah, it's okay. It's like a very okay card. This is not a refusal to admit I'm wrong. I was wrong at calling this card like garbage. It's not garbage, but I don't think it's as good as some people were claiming either. I just think it's okay. Yeah. Basically, its main use is the fact that it's a level 0 owl. Speaking of level 0 owls, this one is crazy good. Owl Apparition Darkness, level 0, 1/4/1. So you can revive this with Hades to your center to be a 4 HP blocker. That's annoying. Your opponent's probably going to have to burn something big on it. You can also heal it out with Greeble, and this counts as 2 Darknesses or any level from 0 to 3 for Abyss Summoning. This is a staple 4 of in any Owl deck, in any Abyss Summon deck. This card is just really good. Win, another very strong legend here. The second legend for Atlas, so this is a business traded. And this draws 1, and then both you and your opponent can choose up to 2 of their own energy and activate them. So yeah, the point is here against non-knight decks, this is free. Against knight decks, this is also probably not going to really impact anything because it's reasonably unlikely your opponent will have just set a card that they can't use that they can also use to disrupt you. Reasonably unlikely. It can happen, but it probably won't. So yeah, it's essentially a slightly worse free disaster without any of the drawbacks, and as a cost, it's a legend. It's a good card. I recommend playing it. Card's strong. Make a Killing. I still don't know if this card is a bait. This is basically a D-draw. You discard a Darkness, and if you do draw 2, and you play it when your opponent's damaged. I still don't know how I feel about this card, because in theory you want to see this early game to start setting up your discard pile, but at early game you don't really have much of a hand, so the odds of seeing this plus a Darkness are not super great, and more importantly, the odds of seeing this plus a Darkness you want to discard are not super great. Yeah, it's alright, but on the other hand, it is really nice to just filter and, you know, start setting up your discard pile. Overall, this is a bad to average card. That's for sure. It's definitely not a great card, and it's definitely not a good card. It's a bad to average card. I'm not sure where it lies in that spectrum. Remains to be seen. But yeah, it is what it is. Vampire Soldier 11. So this is Owl Darkness Military. Level 1 touchdown overdrive. 2/2/2. Look at the top card of your deck. So it's Cry's one. Sorry. So yeah, 2 strike level 1. Worth considering for that. Military, worth considering for that. Darkness, worth considering for that. Owl, worth considering for that. Lots of reasons you'd want to run this card. In particular, I think the Owl deck will be most happy to play this card because, you know, Scry, oh, it's a Hades. Let's put that on top. I can play my whole turn knowing full well my first damage check next turn is going to be a Hades. That's really nice. Yeah, this card's good. Godem Keeper Gerson. So this card actually is at the moment only printed in the start deck, in the demo deck. I believe it's getting reprinted in set 2 because there were some issues with fitting it in. Level 2 military, 4/4/2 touchdown, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit. I'm not a massive fan of this card. Yes, it's got nice-ish stats, but come on. I just don't think this card's very good. And the final card for this review, oh, I didn't even, almost perfect, almost got everything set up. Level 0 military, desperate, give an ally unit +2/+2 until the end of the turn, so you can heal this out with Normandy and set it. And, you know, this can be pretty annoying for your opponent if they are not prepared for it, which is reasonably likely. So that is that. That is the full Atlas card review. My god, that was a long time. Whew. So, overall, Atlas is good. Every faction in this game is good. There's a lot of strong cards. There's a huge amount of decks you can build. This Atlas is very much the core of any Knight strategy at the moment, though. I think, like, generally, if you want to build a Knight deck, take Atlas, pick some cards you like, and then look through to other factions to support those. That's a really solid way to go about it. And yeah, if you found this video informative and useful, please like the video. Please sub to the channel for more Gate Ruler videos, match videos, analysis, card reviews, deck profiles, all this sort of stuff. And obviously more IRL stuff, or rather any IRL stuff will be coming once the game releases worldwide, which is looking to be in April for those who did not know. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.